predicting the future accurately. You see, if anybody had told us that after ChatGPT was released, the world would have paid so much attention, a lot of people would have believed. In fact, I saw a screenshot somewhere where Sam Altman, that's the CEO of OpenAI, where he said, we've released ChatGPT. Someone said, this is the worst product I've ever seen in my life. But see how everything panned out. So it's difficult predicting the future impact of AI. And that's why a lot of people are divided. These are all news excerpts. People are saying, oh, there are dangers. Some are saying AI is going to replace everybody. Some are saying, no, it's just going to transform. You know, there are all sorts of things. Next slide. There are all sorts of things that people are saying. And the thing about artificial intelligence is that I like to say we're in the middle of an AI revolution that is just starting, right? AI has been around since the 1950s, right? Or was it 1960s? 1950s, right? And it's been going through various iterations. People have been improving on it. A lot of what you probably know, or many people might know, is post-ChatGPT, but the AI has been around a longer time, right? And you had people playing around with it. So this is, and this was developed by a company called NFX. They were trying to explain how some of these technologies evolve. So the first step is that it's a hobby. So you just have a couple of people who are just passionate about it and, you know, just playing around with it. There's nothing to it. And then the minute people start to pay attention is at the status moment. And with AI, we've had several status moments. 1997, AI started to play chess. You know, that went all over the place. 2009, self-driving cars all over the place. 2011, AI started to play certain games and was beating humans. 2016, we had a very major one again, AlphaGo, where AI beat a human at a very, very complex, one of the most complex games in the world called Go. And that was also all over the place. But it didn't get everybody's attention like this. What got everybody's attention was ChatGPT. And that's what led to number 3, which is knowledge diffusion. A lot of people are now talking about AI, talking about prompt engineering. You know, and we'll still do that check anyways, but everybody now wants to do something artificial intelligence related. And then you have the other parts to it, which I don't think I need to talk about. But please, let's go to the next slide. And so we're in the middle of an AI revolution. And if we just do a scan, you can go to the next slide, by the way. But if we just do a scan, how many of us have used ChatGPT today or in the last 24 hours? Let me see your hand. Okay, 48 hours. In the last 5 days. Okay, so almost in the last 1 month. Okay, there are some hands that are just not coming up, but that's fine. And so we're in the middle of that revolution, and some people have called it what we call the second machine age. And why have they called it the second machine age? There have been what we call industrial revolutions, and we've had about 3 of them before now. We're in the 4th one. You might have heard that word before, 4th industrial revolution. The first industrial revolution was the steam engine. And just follow me, I'm really going somewhere. The second industrial revolution was electricity, right? And we see how that changed the world. The third industrial revolution was computers. And then this current industrial revolution is several technologies, but artificial intelligence is one of the key ones. And I want you to notice something. With every single industrial revolution, there have been significant changes. Steam engine, it might be difficult for us to, you know, connect everything, but there were changes. But think about electricity. I think we can all connect with that. You know, there's a lot that electricity brought in. There are a lot of possibilities that were redefined just by reason of electricity. Right? If you think about computers, same thing. With computers which came in the 1950s, thereabout, or possibly even earlier, a lot changed with that, right? New jobs, new ways of working, new ways of thinking, possibilities being unlocked. So the definition of impossibility changed completely, right? And the things we could now do, right? And then now, you then have a new technology called artificial intelligence. And it is just as big as some of those previous technologies. And so what is going to happen with artificial intelligence is that we're going to start seeing massive changes. And the way disruptive technologies like AI work is that it will first seem as if nothing is happening. And then all of a sudden, it just seems like it's everywhere. Right? It will first seem like people are not paying attention, or it's happening in trickles here and there, and then boom. And that's how these things work. And I'll come back to touch on this when I'm talking about skills, later on in my presentation. But so the first machine age is the steam engine, electricity, and what that brought was, machines as we know them today. Lots of machines. So instead of human labor, instead of you sewing clothes manually, you are now using a machine, right? So it gave birth to a lot of machines, right, that we use today. And the whole idea was we're either augmenting physical labor or replacing physical labor completely, right? Now, in the second machine age, which actually started when we started to have computers, but which would then be further heightened with AI, we're now going to be dealing with intelligent machines. And that intelligence is what AI is powering. And what that means is that beyond machines being able to do physical work, machines will now be able to do what we call cognitive or mental work, what before now was reserved for only humans. And when we start to define artificial intelligence, you understand what I'm saying. Right, so please, let's move to the next slide. So we're in what we call the second machine age. And see something, a very key figure in the AI space said. He said, I think AI is going to transform every industry. I think it's going to be a transformative technology. And I think in the same way that electricity transformed every industry, AI is going to do the same. Jeff Bezos recently said something very similar to this in a video. I couldn't share that, but he was talking about how, yes, there's a lot of hype around AI, but it doesn't mean nothing is happening. A lot is actually happening. And if you give it a few years, AI is going to be that technology that several other things will be built on. Right? So just like electricity, that was a foundational technology for several things to be built on, AI is also going to have that effect where several things are built on it. Where with AI, we're now able to rethink a lot of what we do, right? And I mean, you probably guessed right, it's going to have impact on jobs, and we'll talk about that shortly, and even the kind of skills that we should have, and we'll talk about that shortly. Next slide. So one thing is for sure, AI is going to change the world. Big time, right? It's not hype. It is going to change the world. And so what exactly is artificial intelligence? Because, it's very easy, and because I'm in this space, a lot of times having conversations, with business people, having conversations with, just friends and all of that. And you find out that everybody just says AI, AI, AI. AI is the new buzzword. So even for things that are not artificial intelligence, people start to use artificial intelligence. So let's break it down a bit. So artificial intelligence is a branch of computer science dedicated to creating systems capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence. That's the textbook definition. A very simple definition is artificial intelligence tries to mimic human intelligence, right? And when you start to think about it, what are some capabilities that humans typically have? Perception is one of them. So vision, you're able to see me and recognize me, right? That's something AI can do. It can recognize and classify like it can see. And we'll look at examples in everyday life very soon. AI can speak and it can understand. So it can understand and generate, speech, right? Typically that's reserved for like humans. Text, it can understand language and generate, right? You already see that, and we'll talk about examples shortly. Another one which many people don't talk about as much is learning. It can learn patterns and predict from those patterns. We'll look at examples very soon. So which means that if I show AI, give AI some data, the same way you are able to understand the data and, identify patterns, AI is also able to do the same thing, right? And based on those patterns, make predictions, right? So if you think about it, if I imagine you're looking for a house in this area, and you're not sure, let's say you're new in Lagos, and then you meet a few agents, and the agents take you to various houses, and then you start to form patterns around a one bed in this area is this amount, a two bed is this amount, a three bed is this amount. So imagine someone then takes you to a particular house and says, this house is a two bed with two bathrooms and this and this and that. You are immediately able, based on those patterns you have, to say it is likely to be this amount, right? What have you done? You've learned from the patterns and you've been able to predict. So AI is also able to do the same thing, right? And that's called machine learning. But I've already said I'm not going to go into any technical terms in this, but that in itself is called machine learning. All right. AI is also able to make judgments. Yeah. So it's able to decide. So based on data, it's able to then, decide specific things, right? Just based on the data that is available. And you can see that. So let's go to the next slide. You can actually see that. So these are just examples. So for vision, you have Face ID, which your phone probably already has. For vision, you also have things like image description. You can just put an image into ChatGPT, tell it to describe it, to describe it. Document extraction, you give ChatGPT a document, right? And it's able to extract everything inside it, the text inside it. That's vision, so it's able to see speech. That's Siri on your iPhones. ChatGPT can also speak today, right? You can speak to it and it speaks back. For text, ChatGPT, which I believe a lot of us already use. So you're typing and it's understanding, it is responding, right? So ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. Then for learning, which I talked about, Spotify, if you use Spotify, Spotify understands all your patterns. You've listened to this music, this music, or you've listened to Nathaniel Bassey, this and that. Okay, you would also like to see Onyeko. It's learning from your patterns. YouTube also has that. Netflix also has that. Then for judgment, this is where you have self-driving cars. And self-driving cars take a lot of information around the environment and they make decisions around that. All right, so next slide. So these are just everyday examples of AI. So now, I felt it was important to talk about Gen AI because the reason why everybody is talking about artificial intelligence today is because of Gen AI, which is short form of generative artificial intelligence. And there's what you call traditional AI, which has always been around for longest time, and then there's the generative part. And what makes them different is just the functionality, right? So traditional AI is like you're analyzing data and you're making predictions. So like when we talked about Spotify, when we talked about Netflix, YouTube, so just look at patterns and then predict. But when we talk about generative AI, the whole idea is that generative AI generates. That's a very simple way to understand. It's generating something new, right? So it's generating some form of content, some form of data, right? And you can see that whenever it's generating text, whenever it's generating an image, whenever it's generating a video, right? That's generative AI. So ChatGPT and all those tools that you have today, they fall under generative AI because they're generating something. Whether it's text, whether it's video, whether it's images, they're generating something. Next slide. Right? So that's the difference between the two. And generative AI is really what has brought us, this far, building on the foundations of traditional. Right? So why is this technology so important? Well, just like computers and the internet, right, ushered in the rise of a new set of companies, AI will usher in major economic shifts. So I did this analysis earlier in the year, and it's a bit small, but let me run you through it. So in 1995, the top 6 organizations, ExxonMobil, based on, I think this is based on capitalization, if I'm correct, but these were the top valuable companies: ExxonMobil, Coca-Cola, Merck, Bank of America, and the likes. But when you look at the top 6 today, NVIDIA, Microsoft, you see that a lot of them have something in common. They are technology-based businesses, right? Practically all of them are technology-based businesses. And the reason why you have this shift is the rise of computers, the rise of the internet, right? And so with the rise of artificial intelligence, we're going to see a similar shift over the coming years where organizations that use AI would be ahead of other organizations. And that also is true for people. So people that use AI, next slide, by the way, people that use AI will be ahead of people who don't. Right? So these are just some quotes. Why is it important? AI, like most transformative technologies, grows gradually and then arrives suddenly. This is Reid Hoffman, co-founder of LinkedIn and a few other organizations. A second person says, this is a time when you should be getting benefits from AI and hope that your competitors are just playing around and experimenting. This is a professor at Stanford University. And then the last is AI is the defining technology of our generation. This is Satya Nadella, who is the CEO of Microsoft. Next slide. And so the technology is very important, very, very critical, and I think I've been able to share a few things about that. I want to share something about the future. I want to start talking about the future because it was one of the things that they said I should do, right? There was a statement, so I've been following AI for quite a while, since at least 2018, before the ChatGPT wave, and also working on projects and all of that in the country. And I remember that I was part of a particular team, and I remember my boss at the time, I was in consulting at the time, by the way. I remember my boss made a statement when we were building a particular solution. He said, do you know that by 2030, a robot will be the CEO of some organizations? And when you just look at him and you just laugh to yourself and you just do yimu, it's not possible, right? And looking back at the time, it didn't seem possible because there were many gaps in the technology, many, many gaps, especially for us who were at the front lines. But after ChatGPT and looking at what happened after ChatGPT and the breakneck speed that things are happening and the way money and capital is flowing into the space, it's becoming harder and harder for me not to see that future being a possibility, possibly even earlier than 2030, right? And so it just goes to show you, back to the slides, why we must have open minds, and I'll still talk about that when we talk about skills, and you can't rule out any possible future. Let me just put it that way, right? You have to appreciate the technology and start learning the technology. The next slide talks about jobs which are likely to be automated. This is very, very small, but this was something I put together. So one of the things that is important to note is that with the current wave of artificial intelligence, a lot of the work that can now be automated are what you call the white-collar jobs, right? So someone is a consultant. Sorry, please go back. Someone is a consultant. Someone is a researcher. Someone is a data analyst, author, software engineer. Now, the thing about artificial intelligence today is that it won't necessarily replace the jobs, because remember that a job is not one thing you're doing. It's multiple tasks that form a job, right? So, but what is happening is that AI is now able to do a lot of what people can do, right? But in some cases, it's not yet fully replacing some of these jobs, but it's automating a significant portion, and it will keep automating, right? Which means that over time, some jobs will be lost. Now, if you look at that diagram, some of the jobs that are hard to automate today, and it's interesting because it almost feels like these are not jobs we would have thought couldn't be automated. Construction worker, farmer, what else do we have there? Cleaner, driver. So even though we have self-driving cars, that problem is such a very hard problem to solve. They've been trying to solve it since 2013. They've not been able to just fully yet, right? And so it's such a hard problem to solve, and these are such hard problems to solve. And the reason they're hard problems to solve is because when you think about farming, it involves a lot of physical labor. When you think about construction work, it involves a lot of physical labor. And so what we're finding is the work that does not involve, and please you can go to the next slide, that does not involve a lot of physical labor, but involves a lot of mental labor, for the lack of a better word, those are the jobs that are easier to automate for AI. I mean, and you can think about how many jobs fall in this category. Now, sorry, this is also very small, but what this is showing is a report from World Economic Forum, and it shows jobs by 2030. And to the left are the fastest growing jobs, just based on the growth potential, and to the right are the number of the fastest growing jobs based on the number of jobs they'll be able to provide. So if you look to the left, if it's just based on growth, you have things like, tech, big data specialists, AI, machine learning, data warehousing, security, all those things. Those are big, right? And there's a huge growth by 2030 when you think about the percentage. But when you look at total number of jobs increased and which ones are growing really fast, farming, farmers, farm workers, laborers, agricultural workers is the highest. And it's going to add about 30 million jobs by 2030, right? So just when you thought, what am I doing with farming, right? And then this is saying that farming is actually going to be big, right? Light truck or delivery service drivers. Who would have thought? That is going to give about 10 million jobs, right? Okay, so software engineers then comes. Building framers, finishers, trade workers, that also is big, right? So what this is showing us is anything, and I'm trying to just create a balance for you in your heads, anything that involves physical labor for now. And the reason why it's difficult is because robotics, which is an adjacent field to AI, so robotics has to do with physical robots, hasn't advanced as much. So, and that's why robots are not able to do a lot of physical work just yet. They're getting better, but they're not there. And that's why it's more difficult to automate those tasks. And anything that just requires, thinking, easier to automate. Now, let's look at, so these are jobs to focus on. Let's look at, and you can look for the report, World Economic Forum, Future of Jobs 2025. So this is 2030. If you look at the next slide, it shows you declining jobs by 2030. And you have things like postal service clerks, bank tellers, data entry clerks, cashiers, and what's that, right? So you have that on the left. On the right, okay, it's also very similar. So it gives you a sense of, the kind of jobs. Again, when you drill down into these jobs, you find out that there are things that either don't require a lot of, and I'm just trying to be careful. It's maybe rules-based, or it's not, very complex. It's something a machine can just easily do, right? So those are jobs that will typically be at risk, right? So next slide, as I start to try to wrap up. So what should you expect? So we talked about jobs to focus on, jobs not to focus on. So what should you expect? So over the next few years, one of the things that I want you to note is that AI is democratizing everything. Sounds like a big word, but I'll break it down. What does democratizing mean? I used to be a graphic designer when I was in university. From my second year to my final year, I did it very actively for about 4 or 5 years. And at the time, there was no Canva. I think Canva came in maybe 2 or 3 years after I graduated. At the time, it was Photoshop. So Photoshop, CorelDRAW. I had to learn at least 6 different softwares, to be able to do my craft very well. Right? And I also I used to spend hours and hours on my computer, just, going through the internet, doing different things, just then there were lots of CDs that would have like tutorials and all of that, just to be up to speed with what was going on, right? But years later, Canva came into the mix. And what did Canva do? What Canva did was that without much graphic experience, the average person can create a graphic design. How many of us know Canva or use Canva? Let me see your hands. Exactly. So you see all that time I spent from my 200 level, sometimes during ASU strike, sit down with computer 6 hours, 7 hours, all that time, Canva compressed it and ensured that the average person could do very decent design. Now, obviously, maybe not very, very complex, but decent enough, for what they want to use it for. Today, a lot of social media influencers and people on social media just go to Canva and use Canva. And that is what democratizing means. Democratizing just means that you're now giving access to people that typically would not have had access. And that's what's happening with AI. And it's happening everywhere. Today, I wrote a book, right, 2 years ago. And I've not, so again, because it was a global publisher that published the book, I thought they would do a lot of marketing, which they did initially, but after a while they stopped, right? So at some point I started to think to myself, how can I, sell this thing better, And then you're talking to people, they want to charge you an arm and a leg. But with ChatGPT, what I found is I'm actually able to do all that work myself. Run ads, what the content to the ad should be, all of that I'm able to do myself without paying anybody. And that's what democratization means. So that access that was gated, that only the professional had, I now have a sense of it. I might not be as good as the professional, but I can do something decent enough to move me forward. And by the time you look at a lot of things, you realize that that's actually what has been happening. If you look at ChatGPT is helping people write reports. It's helping people with research. It's helping people write code, analyze data, right? It's even giving legal and financial advice. In fact, some people even get medical advice, even though I won't advise it, but, right? It is democratizing that. There are tools such as Lovable. Lovable is a tool that if you have an idea today, instead of going to pay some developer an arm and a leg, you just write what you want in English. I want to build a church app that can collect members' data and can help us track attendance. Once you detail all you want in the app, it will generate a platform for you automatically. What has it done? It has democratized that whole, I need to go and you still need to meet a developer, by the way, eventually, but it would help you test things very quickly, right? And you have others, I won't go into them. Please, next slide. So things like Midjourney, you can generate images. You can generate videos, right? And you don't have to know anything so much about how to hold a camera, how to, do this angle, do that angle. It has been democratized. And that is what will keep happening and happening across different fields, right? Now, so what do you need to do now that you know that AI is democratizing everything, which means that even that job you're doing, don't be shocked that tomorrow AI is giving access to the average person to be able to do it without having to contact you. And so what do you need to do? What you need to do is you need to embrace AI as a tool to enhance and not replace your skills. You need to adapt to the new realities. There's some people who are called the Luddites, and you can read up about it, Luddite. And I talked about the industrial revolutions earlier because I wanted to talk about this. So during I think it was the steam engine, right, that revolution, the very first one, there were these people in Great Britain called the Luddites. And who were they? They were textile workers. And what they were doing was they saw that machines were coming and they were fighting against it. Protest, no, you're not going to use machines, blah, 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 all of that. But how many of you know the Luddites today? Probably none of you. Because what happened? Eventually, they were replaced. So the thing to do is not to fight technology. You will never win that way, right? The thing to always do is to progress with technology. So don't be a Luddite, right? Tell your neighbor, don't be a Luddite, right? Don't be a Luddite. Think about the technology, embrace it, right? Upskill. Invest in learning AI tools, right? Just learn how to use ChatGPT at the minimum. Learn how to do different things with AI tools. You see, because a lot of times, and I like the picture at the bottom, what does it say? It says, AI took my job to the next level. I like it because it's a play on what everybody keeps saying, which is AI took my job, AI is going to take our jobs. But it's saying AI is going to take your job to the next level. So you can start to think about how can I do my job better, right, than the average person using AI. And the beautiful thing about this is I've done things that, should have taken me 5 hours. I did them in 30 minutes. And by the time I sent it in, people were like, wow, this is awesome. Artificial intelligence. Just learn to use it well, right? And the thing about AI is, and I think that's what the moderator was saying earlier, learn to use it in such a way that it's not obvious that you've used AI. There are techniques to it. That's what will stand you out. There's a uniqueness that you have that you need to bring to the table that the other person does not have, that makes the AI more unique to you. No other person could have given that answer. Right? So adaptability, back to the slides. Adaptability. I've forgotten the other ones. Upskilling, adaptability, and collaboration. Those are 3 things. So adaptability is you just, being open to evolve on your job. And then collaboration is just learning to work with AI. AI has its strengths, it has its weaknesses. Just like you have your strengths, have your weaknesses. How can you collaborate together to build something beautiful? Next slide as I start to wrap up. So what skills are very important? Well, in the AI era, technical skills are still important. But with your technical skills on your domain skills, make sure you add AI skills. So prompt engineering, I don't know what it will be called tomorrow, but for today, prompt engineering, learn how to use it, right? The next big thing, which a lot of people underestimate, is soft skills. So things like critical thinking would never go, would never get stale. Creativity would never, in fact, AI can amplify creativity. Right? It can enhance and amplify it. Adaptability, we talked about that. Then just general interpersonal skills, being able to negotiate, being able to communicate. See, interpersonal skills isn't going anywhere. Even though, yes, humans will start interacting more with robots, humans will still cherish human interaction. In fact, human-human interaction will now become more expensive. You know how today, when you call maybe a telecom provider, what happens? What will you hear? It's an IVR you hear now. Please press 1, please press. Before you get to the human being, you'd almost sweat, right? Exactly, because there's a premium placed on that. It's the same thing. Over time, what will happen is call center agents will be robots, right? They'll still be humans, but for you to get through to those humans, it will be a premium, right? So, human interactions will still be very, very important, right? Which is why you must build that. And then your mindset, very, very big. Embrace learning, embrace innovation, and entrepreneurship. Very, very important. All right, that mindset part, try new things. Keep trying new things. Keep trying new things. All right, next slide. And so, so this is my last slide. So it all starts with a prompt. And this is a quote by Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT. He says, people are using AI to create amazing things. If we could see what each of us can do 10 or 20 years in the future, it would astonish us today, right? So there's a lot that is still coming in the AI space, and I hope everyone here would embrace it. Again, I didn't go into a lot of technicalities because there are lots of resources online, and I would expect that, you'll go online and get them. But the idea and what I came here to do was to make sure that you know that artificial intelligence is a big technology. It's going to change our generation. It's going to change a lot of the things we do. And now is the time to start embracing it. I want you to say to someone beside you, now is the time to start embracing it. All right, thank you very much. So questions?
Thank you so much. As I was listening, you can do better than that now. Except you are feeling the way I felt. I was just sitting and telling myself, oh, more. I remember initially I was bragging that me, Agba implementer. But as it is like this, I'm thinking, boy, I should go and start learning bricklaying so that at least. But so we are going to maximize our time. This is like a teaser. We just wanted to warm your body small. We are still negotiating. Hopefully we can get more time with our speaker so we can expand on some things. I know you have questions. If you have questions, let me see your hand. Questions, I see a hand there. Only one. I see 2 more hands. So take a number. 1, 2, The next person, yeah, you are 2. The next person, 3, 4. Yeah. You are 1, 2, 3. I saw a hand there. 4. Okay, that's the first hand. If your question pop-ups later, sorry, we won't take it. You join us in the expanded edition. Yeah, take it. So, yeah.
Okay. Hello. Good morning.
Hi.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. So my question is there a possibility that AI might turn out to be a bubble? One day everything will just crash. And also considering the fact that there's threats that AI might, AI might lead to, should I call it global crisis? Machine taking over, trying to protect the earth, like we see in the movies, and government coming after it to just shut it down.
Fantastic question. I think I want to answer that before we get any other person. So, yes, there is a lot of hype about AI. But I like the way Jeff Bezos put it. The fact that there's a lot of hype and you're seeing things that don't make sense does not mean that nothing is happening. And I think that's usually the deception. And that's why, in one of, because it says things will be happening gradually and then what? Suddenly. Right? So, yes, there's the bubble element. And there's some things I even saw recently that, so if I think about OpenAI barely makes maybe $15 billion. Yet, by 2030, they want to spend $1 trillion. And you ask yourself, how is this going to happen, right? Exactly. How shall these things be, if you get? But, so no doubt there's a bubble element. But it doesn't mean that things are not happening. To be honest, that's why I said the future is very difficult to predict. There's something called an AI winter, right? And if you look at, and you can read up about it, since the 1950s, AI has had what we call winters. You can read up about it. So, I talked about how 1997, something happened. 2009, self-driving cars. 2016, this happened. So what has been happening is you have a huge milestone. A lot of funding will come, and then everybody realizes this thing is just hype. Then funding dies. Then researchers will come up with some very novel tech again to advance AI. Money comes again, people invest. So that has happened since as far back as possible. But even if this bubble, right, scatters, you can be rest assured that it's still going to come again. Do you understand? Give it another maybe 5-10 years, something else would happen because researchers will keep trying to, because the technology is unbelievable and there's a lot that it can unlock for us. Do you understand? The applications are massive. Let me give an example. Google just released AlphaFold. It's something in the medical space that is able to speed up drug discovery. Today, drug discovery takes maybe 5 to 10 years. With AlphaFold, it can take, I don't know the numbers, but maybe months. Imagine that. So it is such a powerful technology that money will still keep going in, even if the bubble scatters. And eventually, researchers will keep advancing and advancing until we start seeing reality of the technology. Does that make sense? So I'll say just keep at it. The second question, to be honest, we don't know what direction this will take. I was listening to a book the other day by the founder of Oracle, and they were just talking about just playing out different scenarios. The book is called, I think, Genesis. Playing out different scenarios of how AI might turn out. And one of the things one of the speakers said was nuclear, this whole nuclear thing, when it was discovered, right, people thought it would be used for electricity, right? But if you look at the number of, people that have used it for, it's very minimal. Guess what people have been using it for? War. So you can't, we don't know. And that's why everybody, countries, the US is trying not to slack. China is moving at breakneck speed, trying to match them up. Because also the flip side of artificial intelligence is, which is also why money will keep going there, it also determines the next world power, if you think about it. It's that powerful a technology, and nobody wants to sleep up on it. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My questions, there are two. Okay. The first one is out of curiosity, and is somehow in line with this first one. You talk about the fact that it's difficult to predict the future based on AI. So is it possible that a future that we are not prepared for can just appear?
Yes, sir. It is. It's not impossible. But the good thing is that's why you have several people who are also shouting at the top of their voices that, see, these are the dangers, these are the dangers, you have those types of people who are trying to put guardrails. Do you understand? The other day, I saw a video of your pastor, Pastor Poju. It was a fake video. And you might laugh at it now, but I've seen things that make me really scared. Because I've seen very convincing videos that you're not able to tell that this was AI easily. 2 years ago, it wasn't like that. And you can do a search. Will Smith, just put Will Smith AI video. It was a video of Will Smith eating spaghetti. It was AI generated. It was very terrible. Like, you know that this is, like, it didn't even make sense. He's trying to put spaghetti in his mouth, it's entering his nose, entering his eyes. Like, it didn't make sense. But they showed that version in 2025. It was hard to tell. That's 2 years. So imagine that we're progressing and progressing. In fact, when I heard it, I was like, this is not Pastor Poju's voice. Even though it was a bit convincing to the average person who doesn't know him, they might still be fooled. But we're getting to a place where in 2 years, so there are also risks. Let's not deceive ourselves. There are huge risks. Because someone was saying, there was a video I put out one time, because I run a newsletter, by the way. And please, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Ayodele Lule. I also run a newsletter on AI. Please, called Intellery. Please connect. And maybe media can help me. It's my last slide. I forgot to pull it up. But what was I saying? I put up a video, because I always put up some of these things. And even me, when I put up the video, I was like, I can't believe this is AI, but let me put it up, right? And people were just commenting and commenting. And someone said, how do we know what reality is anymore? Those are some of the challenges that we'll have. Today, AI-generated text is difficult to find. All those, I can detect AI-generated text, is a lie. A lot of those tools don't work. Because it's now confusing. So except maybe you're using certain things that everybody knows this is ChatGPT, then people will catch you. But if you find a way to, and that's why I said you need to learn how to prompt, nobody knows. All right. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So the second question is, let me use a developer now.
Okay.
I'm given a task to create a registration page. And as a professional developer, is expected that I write this code line by line and all that, and sometimes even bring to remembrance some of what I've learned. But you discover that, just like you say, a 1 week coding assignment, you just prompt, within 30 minutes, is out. And at some points, I now start asking myself, is it possible that conscience now prompting me that, is this thing really helping me as a developer, or is really, how do we balance that? Because at some points, when I have interview or when you have interview, you discover that things I do every day and it's part of me is already living. So how do we strike that balance?
So, and that's would I say philosophical question now? Because a lot of people, it's something they talk about, right? How do we ensure that we don't become lazy? And sometimes people say, oh, we used to calculate maths in our head, but today we don't do that again. We do calculator, right? People use that. But I think with artificial intelligence, I don't know, it just feels a bit different because you are, with development, which is your space, there's a lot of systems thinking you're doing. You're having to think, this is how this will work, this is how it will fit. But if you're just writing it in English, so yeah, I don't have an answer to the question because it's still a major debate in the space. What should we be automating? What shouldn't we be automating? All of that. But I guess it's a conversation that will continue. I think for you, it's to always look out for what are some things that in my space would stand me out. The truth about it is the basics you already know would actually stand you out from a junior developer who just starts today and is just writing English. There's a lot of foundational things he will never understand that you would always understand, right? So I think it's always just to think about what are those foundational things that, regardless of artificial intelligence, will still help me, because AI doesn't write perfect code. In fact, a lot of times people say that it has a lot of security flaws. So which means that it still takes someone like you to be, and not the average person, to be able to do that thing perfectly. Do you understand? So, again, it's an open debate, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. Hi, Ayo. Good afternoon. So my name is Emmanuel. So I'm a software engineer. So I have a couple of questions, right? But I'll try to collapse them into one so that, because of time. So my question is, for the AI we have today, right, ChatGPT, Grok, the argument is that they are not as human as the idea of generating an AI was. There's the AGI part and there's the narrow AI part. So arguments are coming that these are narrow-based AIs, that they're only based on reinforced learning and pattern recognition. So my question is, with the way it's going, right, is there a point with the architecture being laid down where with the way we are going currently that we can be able to head to artificial general intelligence, where we attain that human level of thinking? Because currently the argument is, if the model that AI is using to work is removed, the AI won't be able to function. So most people are arguing that, okay, we are looking for something more human, that once it's built, it will be sent to school, it will study like humans, it will come out, it will be able to spit out something. So someone like you that has a lot of experience, I just want your takes on it. Do you think the path follow? Because with the path that is going, for me personally, I think we are heading to something that is just going to keep depending on data sets. We're not heading to something that is going to be autonomous like humans, which I start to question, okay, is there someone that is going to break away to ask, can we build another architecture that will be layered the way human brain functions? Being able to read something, keep it at the back of your brain. So I just want your 2 cents.
Okay, so I've tried not to use a lot of technical terms intentionally because I was also gauging the audience. But I think the answer is we can't accurately predict, right? So what's artificial general intelligence? Artificial general intelligence is intelligence that can do everything, right? So same way human beings is able to do, kind of like once you learn something, you're able to do that thing again and again. And you're able to learn and transfer that learning to other things. Do you understand? Right. Now, AGI has been around for quite a while. That goal of let's get artificial general intelligence. And that's also what bringing up the fear of AI will take over the world and we'll be in trouble and all of that. I think it's very difficult to predict, and that's why when you listen to a lot of the experts, like people at the forefront, like the researchers who, are at the forefront of this, different people will say different things. There's no alignment. Some will say in 5 years. I still heard someone say, I think 10 years. Some say 2 years. Again, there's no general consensus, right? But I think that one thing is sure, the technology will keep getting better. And some of the godfathers of, at least one of the godfathers of AI, right, at least the modern AI movement, Yann LeCun, that's one of the things he's working on. How can we break away from the way ChatGPT works? There's a structure ChatGPT uses called transformers. Instead of us using that, can we use something else? Maybe we'll be able to build something more intelligent. But I think the chase for AGI is also not where the average person should be looking. Because at the end of the day, the models we have today, there's a lot they're already changing. Do you get? And there's a lot they are still going to change. Right? So even if human beings don't hit AGI, we would have, models and technologies, AI that is able to do so many things and still change the world. Do you understand? Which, is the most important thing, right? Yeah? All right.
Okay. My name is Samuel. AI has come to stay. It's been long. The very first time I heard about it, there was nothing related to that. It was just a write-up newsletter in banks then. So my question is, I'm just contributing and also asking a question. All the negative aspects of AI, I would advise every one of us to just put that one aside. It has come to stay to make our life better. So my question is, the benefit of me coming here today is I just want to leverage on your resources, on your strength. Instead of me looking for something for 30 minutes, 1 hour, stressing myself and wasting time. I would like if you can share that, your link on LinkedIn, for me to start learning more from you. Thank you.
Okay. If you just follow me on LinkedIn, it's fine. Just Ayodele Olule. Just send me an invite, and I'd accept. Not a problem. Well, yeah, and I agree with what he just said. If you are trying to look at all the negatives, you'll be paralyzed and you won't move forward. What makes more sense is this technology, how can I use it? And how can it, advance my career and advance my life? I don't know if that makes sense. And beyond just your work, there are a lot of things you can use AI for. Like 2 days ago, my phone started having issues. I wasn't sure what it was. I just asked ChatGPT, what does this mean? It started saying, oh, it's likely that, it's a hardware issue. So immediately, I needed to back up, a lot of things. But I was struggling with space on my laptop, space on disk, because I just have a lot of files. And ChatGPT helped me to find where all the possible, places and how I could free up space. I could have done Google search, but maybe it would have taken me days. But I was able to finish that thing in 1 hour. Right? Same thing, I had issues with my laptop at some point, my personal laptop. It was plugged in, but it wasn't charging, it was draining. I was wondering what's going on. ChatGPT was walking me through, do this, upgrade to Windows 11, do this, do this, do this. Again, in 2 hours, if you cut out all the time for the upgrades and all that, I was done. If I was going to do that myself, it would have taken days. And I'm a technical person, it would have taken days to figure it out with Google. Because Google will say, go here, you go there, dead end. Go here, you go there. Maybe it's by day 3, you now find what will work. It doesn't mean that ChatGPT 2 doesn't hallucinate, don't get me wrong, but it's just faster. So even in your personal life, you should be using it, please. Yes. You can even use it for Bible study. You can, and you should, right? So oh, I'm studying this thing. What do Bible scholars, what positions have they taken? To summarize everything for you. And then you can keep asking questions. Which scriptures can I check for this? And, gives you guidance. All right, sir.
So I was looking forward to you mentioning tools that the layman could, AI tools that the layman could use, to improve their day-to-day usage of, I know you mentioned Lovable, and you mentioned the concept of prompt engineering. There are prompt engineering courses on Udemy and some of these other places. You could just take 30 minutes, 1 hour, and, So what are the other tools? Like if you want to generate videos, you could go to Midjourney. Mm-hmm. What are the other tools in that line that a normal person can use and drastically improve their AI experience and get better at it?
Fantastic. Sorry, I skipped my mind. But yes, that's a fantastic this thing. So I think ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is cheaper these days. They have ChatGPT Go, which is, I think, just about 9K. It's very cheap. I still use the higher version because I'm able to make it pay for the money I'm giving it. In fact, I'm able to make it even pay more than I'm giving it. So it works for me. And with ChatGPT, there's a lot you can do. You can use it to write, you have office documents. Again, just be careful. Don't put your office name and all those things there. Just be careful, Instead of putting bank so, you can put bank ABC. Just remove. It can help you. Your boss sends you a stinker email. You're trying to figure out, how do I respond to this? ChatGPT can help you with that. Email crafting, writing documents, brainstorming. Oh, this is strategy and budgeting season. Organizations are saying, what are we doing in 2026? Your boss has said, oh, I need you to come up with a list. That's your place to shine. What you can do, and the way I like to write my prompts is to say, imagine you are so let's say you work in operations in a bank. Imagine you're an operations analyst in a bank in Nigeria. This is this. What do you think the bank should be focusing on in 2026? Brings out several. You can even now tell it, ask me relevant questions. So why you need to do that is because it will now ask you further questions. Oh, how many people are in the bank? Oh, is it a tier 1 or tier 2 bank? Oh, do you have technology in place? Then by the time you answer all those questions, in fact, what it will give you, even you won't believe it. So brainstorming, very important. Research. There are 2 types of research. There's general research. There's something called deep research. Right? Deep research is ChatGPT can go to several websites, hundreds of websites, to browse about that topic that you wanted to browse about. For example, there's a new tax law. You're not a tax person. If you go to ChatGPT or Gemini, and I think they give you 5 per month if you're not on a paid plan, just go there. What are the implications of tax? Let's say you're a remote worker, or for someone doing remote, it would, what do I need to do? It will run. Sometimes it can run for 10, 15 minutes to run on its own. When the report is out, to give you a proper report. That's deep research, So brainstorming, research, writing documents, writing emails. For those who are doing a lot of creative stuff, pictures, so Midjourney, right? Gemini still, which is Google. ChatGPT can also generate. And what I usually tell people to do is, there's an art to image generation. Even me, I've not mastered it, I won't lie. But there's an art to it. You can take courses. They're free courses. YouTube is your friend. You don't even have to pay for Udemy. Just YouTube, how to prompt, it will give you, right? Another, a trick or a hack, if you don't know how to prompt the image generation software, is you can give it an image you like and tell it that it should write a prompt that describes that image. So it will give you very, very detailed prompt that describes the image, then you can tweak it. That's also a hack. So image generation, so Midjourney, Gemini has its own, which is Nano Banana. ChatGPT has, you can get that. Then you have for videos, so Sora, which is ChatGPT's, OpenAI's own, Veo. There are several of them. They're even free ones. Knock yourself out. But there are lots of those video generating platforms. What else can people want to do? coding, for those that code, there are different platforms, Cursor, Codex, GitHub Copilot, all of that, right? Data analysis, you can use ChatGPT, right? You can actually use ChatGPT, You can even use it as a consultant and say, oh, in my business, I'm having this challenge, this. I want to grow the business. I'm in Nigeria. I'm in this space. Advise me. And it will advise you. So it's the possibilities are very limitless. I hope that helps, sir. Yeah, but with ChatGPT, most people would be fine, except you're in the creative space. There's still
Any other? I have.
Just one? Okay. Or the two, or if there are two, the two people can just ask it together. Just ask it together.
Hi, thank you very much. Good afternoon. Yeah, I have a couple of questions and clarifications, and I also want to be sure we are making some assessment right, anyways. So the first thing is the reason why you feel more manual work are not being automated right now and would not be in the nearest future. And regarding your point to robots particularly, so I was thinking, could it not be a function of cost for the companies that are involved? Like because they feel maybe robots is more cost intensive, and also you have to deal with repairs, you have to deal with changing them. Could that be a reason? And if we later see a company that is interested in that data, could that? So I just want us to be careful of our, like you said, it's hard to predict the future, particularly with the WE chart that you showed. So I just wanted to be sure that could that not be, because Tesla is already doing it with their factories, so I really don't see why farming should be much of a huge deal to them, unless it is not lucrative for them as of now. But that could change in the next few years. And also, I wanted to point to the fact that we should not be bothered about the risks much that you mentioned. Also, I understand the concept of the analysis paralysis, that if you dwell too much on the negatives, it could affect. But we also need to be careful, and something that this program actually mentioned during the announcement was that we should not just be a consumer. And for us not to be a consumer means we need to go into the details as much as possible to really understand what we are giving into and what we are giving out, basically. So I think it's just a responsibility for everyone to be informed about what is actually happening. The downside of that is definitely you get to know about a lot of the risks, which is really not in itself a bad thing. It's like, okay, it can take us from being a consumer in that respect to, okay, how can we mitigate some of these risks? But if we don't learn enough about it to know about those risks, then that could really be an issue. And I really wanted to draw the parallel between something like, and like you said, the main reason why AI is bubbling right now is because it could or should determine the next global power, right? So I want to draw that parallel to the nuclear power that you mentioned and nuclear vision, like general, like nuclear vision, in the sense of it has its own advantages, but right now it's not still in the mainstream because of the downsides. And that is because a lot of people are concerned about it and they know about it enough to know that, okay, sure, it has the ability to generate enough power for the whole country and all, but do we want to deal with the risk at this stage now? Thinking of the fact that we don't know how to eliminate its waste. So I just wanted to be sure that we are striking a balance between not wanting to know those downsides, and because a lot of people are this, but that for instance, people are bothered about their data going to corporations. I'm like, you should know that they have your data. Like, it should not really be something, because like you said, YouTube is able to generate things that are tailored to you. Google Adverts are able to generate these things. So you should be aware and know what you are giving out to the corporations.
So the corporations, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So let me just quickly answer so that I don't forget. So on the robots part, so I'm not necessarily saying that the direction we have today is still going to remain direction. Remember I said it's difficult to predict. But based on the trajectory right now, manual labor is difficult to automate. And that's because beyond the thinking part, which artificial intelligence helps with, there's the physical movement part, which is very, very difficult, right? And you can go and read up about it because that part is engineering, electrical, mechanical engineering. So you need advancements in those areas. Do you understand? If you check Tesla, I mean, yes, they have Optimus, but what's Optimus doing? Is it doing something from end to end? The answer is no. You have companies like Figure who are also building robots in companies like BMW. They're still doing just a subset of the work. So you still have physical labor. Do you understand? And if we keep going at this trajectory to remain like that, but if those adjacent fields advance really quickly, like AI is advancing, then we're moving forward. Robots will keep getting better. How soon? We don't know, but they will keep getting better. The second one is the risks. So I think the reason why I'm not too, yes, you should know about the risks, right? But what I'm saying is let's not dwell too much on it, right? And maybe I should also put a caveat. Don't dwell too much on it from a career perspective, right? Because, I mean, if someone is already creating a video of Pastor Boju and it was not Pastor, and you know that thing will keep getting, obviously you should be concerned, right? That's a huge risk. But I think for me, it's more from the career perspective side. Don't be too scared of, oh, AI is coming to replace me. Because what you should just be thinking, yes, AI is going to replace some jobs, no doubt. It's going to also create new jobs, but it's going to replace some jobs. But if you are focused on how am I adding value using AI, then you are likely to be fine. And I think that should be the focus. And so it shouldn't be analysis paralysis, AI is coming, and then you're not even doing anything to upskill yourself. So that's the angle. So let me just take one more question, and then we can wrap up.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. So thinking a bit out of the box, you just spoke now about the engineering and the back end of AI. Is there any concern with respect to the energy demand that's at the back end driving AI? I say this, should we be conscious of how we utilize that space, knowing that we're contributing to it? So we're in the space now where they talk about renewable energy. Everybody wants to drive an electrical vehicle. It's your way of contributing. So does this periodic going on ChatGPT and say, generate a picture of myself, or show me how the next plane will look like, those funny things we do, should we be a bit more responsible?
Yeah, so, and that's a very valid question because just this last week, the CEO of Microsoft and OpenAI, so Satya Nadella, Microsoft, OpenAI, Sam Altman, they had a podcast, and what they were basically saying was they have money to invest into AI infrastructure, but where they're having problems is with electricity generation. Because for some of those AI infrastructure, just one part of it is taking the same power that 50,000 houses would have used. So you can imagine. So even with electricity generation and the electricity generation companies, they had not imagined that this kind of demand would ever come. AI takes a lot of power, right? And right now, one of the bottlenecks is that we don't even have as much power, which is where I'm sure people will start getting innovative, renewable power, solar, and all of that to power some of these things. So we should expect to see a lot of innovation also in that adjacent field. But yeah, but that's it. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What was it? Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing from your wealth of experience and just making it as simple as possible. Because you could have been here and just throw AGI like our software developer there, or even you were just talking from like, what are all these words? I just want to know, will AI stop me from buying pepper and tomato? Right? What does it mean? The other day I was reading something. I was like, explain this to me like I'm 5-year-old. Not even like I'm 5-year-old. Explain in this particular language. I like to run. So I say use running terminologies for me so I'll understand it. So we just want to thank you. And also everyone for the beautiful questions. Like I shared, this was to steer our interest, and I see like we have a lot of interest. We are trying to have a sequel to this, so look out for it. We'd also speak with our speaker, beg him. I don't want to put him on the spot to commit him, but would have that conversation to see how we can have a follow-up session. I know some of us had sent in questions ahead, so we still have those. We are going to explore them in the other session that we are going to have, and even things around prompt engineering. I know it's easy for us to tell you to go and learn it on Udemy and all, but even knowing the right course to go to and what you should be looking out for as well. There's three, because one thing like he shared, with a new opportunity, everybody is jumping on it. You see somebody is creating a course and you go in and you're like, this course is not costing, right? But thank you so much. And me, I'm just here speaking. I did not do anything. So I want to call the people that did something and to come up. Please, if I call you, just come outside. You are the brains behind this. Dami, please, we want to see you up here. God bless you. Ifi, God bless you. Emmanuel and Tolu. I think those are the people that are around. There are others that are listening in virtually. Debola, if you are listening, we also appreciate you. For those in the auditorium, please, let's come forward. Let's clap for them. They put all this together. Where are they? Don't be shy. Let's clap for them again. So this is Emmanuel. We have a small package, so give us a minute. Let's bring it. It's being transported down. We're using DHL. It's very delicate and sophisticated. I think there's supposed to be a QR code displayed, so ensure you fill the form, give us your feedback, and like I said, the other sessions that we are going to have, you would have the opportunity to have access to it first. For those that know, our virtual sessions are for a specific number. So for those of you here, you'll be our priority. Fill the form. If you come forward, don't hide. Fill the form, give us your feedback, and would also reach out to you once we are ready for the next session. God helping us, we should have one before the end of the year and towards early next year as we prepare for 2026. 2026 is already here. For some of us, they're already asking you for budget and your plans for next year. And for those that have businesses as well, I'm sure you're already planning. Whilst we wait for already here. But let me one person who wants to appreciate our speaker, you want to say something. One person. One. Nobody. You are shy. Was there a hand? Where, please? Sorry. Oh, okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ayo. It was a wonderful time with you, Ms. Ryan, and I appreciate it because, like I said, the main thing is for people to be aware of the possibilities of AI and how to tap into it for their career and future plans. So I really appreciate you giving the time and also being part of the people that worked in the front line of these days in our country. It really meant a lot to meet someone like you physically. So I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And we hope you honor our invitation for the subsequent sessions. Thank you.
Okay, so this is where I hand over to Dami to do the presentation. Thank you. on behalf of Okay, thank you again, everyone. It's been a very, very wonderful session. I know you agree with me. Please put the code. Let them see the code. Don't. So again, fill the form. Very important. We need your feedback. And most importantly, for subsequent session, we want to be able to reach out to you. At least you've had the foundation. You know, there's something Pastor always said that he likes teaching here. Why? You already have context. So when he's layering other things on it, you will not be saying, what is Pastor saying? So we know that when you are coming for the subsequent events that we are going to have, you already have context, you're already prepared, you already know what to look out for. And I think there's a part where you would also suggest to us what it is about AI you want to learn or know or hear. Like for me, I always say, I want to know how AI will make me rich. Very rich. You don't want to be rich. You want to be over-rich. Me, I want to be rich. Very rich. Very rich. Without any risks. And without sweating. Sweatless wealth. That is my own prompt to AI. Show me how I can get sweatless wealth in the next 6 months. You are laughing. 6 hours, I like you. You see the dream and the vision. So that's it. But yeah, again, thank you. Somebody wanted to say something earlier. I know you wanted to tell the speaker, but I'm sure we are streaming. He would watch it. Are you still there? You have left. They have gone and corner speaker at the back. Thank you, everyone. Like we did at the start, I'm going to come back to ask you how the event was. Did it meet your expectations? Score us on a scale of 10. I'm going to randomly come to you on a scale of 10. I like your face. I like people that wear glasses. 1 to 10, score us. 1 is the lowest.
I'll give it a 9.
9. Solid A. Thank you. I like your heart. Abba's baby. Score us. Scale of 10.
8.
8. This score is reducing. No? Why 8?
I was actually expecting maybe practical training, but he said he's not going to show us any video stuff for now. Maybe later.
Yeah, today was not a day of practical. Today is to explain the baseline. Open your head so that the ocean, now your blood is hot. Next time, if I say come for practical, bring your computer. Will you not bring it? But if I told you to bring your computer today, you'd have been like, what is it? So thank you for the 8. It's still generous, but we've noted the feedback. Hello, ma'am. I thought you like people with glasses. And you are now wearing here. Is that crystal? What color do they call the earring?
I don't know.
You don't know. You are worse than I am. At least I try. But score us on a scale of 10.
I would say 10.
10. Epatewo. Are you jealous? Clap now. You're a very generous lecturer. God bless you. You prosper. I like this Ogas beer. Scores.
Praise the Lord. Before I score, I want to appreciate TCN for organizing this event. Why did I say appreciate? Because it's not, we don't get to see churches organize such an event such as this, and I have to appreciate the leadership of the church. So I'm going to score 8. 8 because there's always room for improvement. Always get there. So that's what I'm going to score. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Spoke like a lecturer that is in Harvard. He first praised us, gave us sandwich feedback, say there's room for improvement. That house of improvement. Sir, because I like how you spoke, with boldness. I don't want to guess this. Me, I always say I'm a baby boomer that was born in a millennial age. I don't know which one you are. Baby boomer in Gen Alpha. Okay. Score, sir.
Things like this will also go down well with small item 7. So I score you a 10.
A 10. Clap nah. But thank you. I agree. I'm also one of those people that say any meeting that there's no spicy skin and, it should be an email. Let me come to you, sir. Scores. 8. Thank you again, everyone. God bless you. We've noted all the in-person feedback and the one you are going to put on the form. And hopefully the next time you come, we'll try to give you item 7. For those that usually come, we give item 7, right? You agree? Who has attended before? In person. You have. Did you collect item 7 or not? You are not sure. But don't worry. I see majority of us is our first time. We've taken all the feedback sincerely, and we are really grateful. Thank you again for coming, for spending your morning and afternoon with us. We wish you a great time back. But before we leave, when we started, we say Jesus started with prayer and ended with prayer. Although I did not know where the first prayer I made, but we know the last prayer. So we'll have our own prayer here. A man prayed when we started. Let me meet you, ma, to pray for us as we depart.
Let's bow our heads in prayer. Father, we thank you for this beautiful opportunity to learn, to sit together. Thank you for the wisdom that we've received this morning. Thank you for the speaker. Thank you for everyone that made it here today physically. We ask, oh God, that even as we embark back to our various houses, that you will go with us. We pray that your presence will be with us. We pray that even as all that we've learned today, that we'll go back being instrument of change in the name of Jesus. We pray for God's blessings, God's favor, and goodness to be and abide with us now and forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the volunteers as well. Have a great journey back home.